Recording. Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. My name is Zap, ZAP, and I'm a program manager at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. I'm so excited about this workshop because it's so timely because we're in the middle of Women's History Month, if you didn't know that. And we have the marketing, branding, and communications expert, Dr. Contrecia Tharpe, really making women sound pretty badass. Here to just talk about how we can be more powerful women and SheEOs. She is also an EC advisor. If you haven't utilized the EC Advisor Network yet and would like to, feel free to chat me during all of this. Anyways, Contrecia, I'm going to hand things over to you. But thank you, everyone, so much for being here. And thank you for you being here as well.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. Like you said, this couldn't have come at a better time with us being kind of on the exiting, we're outing, we're leaving Women's History Month. But one of the biggest things I think that I want everyone to take away from this is that for so long, women have had this disempowered voice when it comes to leadership. And a lot of times when we hear the word leadership or when we are introduced to the idea of leadership, we think C-suite, we think corporation, we think Fortune 500. But to really be a SheEO, you can be a SheEO of your life. You can be a SheEO of your own business. You can be the SheEO of your household. But it's really about finding a confidence and a voice within yourself that will allow you to then lead whoever it is that you are leading as best as possible. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. You'll get all of my contact information at the end of this. This is set up as a meeting instead of a webinar, which is perfect. I love to see that because it also encourages conversation. If there is at any point something that you feel that you would like to pitch in or say, definitely I encourage it because this is supposed to be a conversation to better us all as SheEOs. So let me start sharing my screen. Okay, so the first thing that you have to remember is that you are a world changer, born to shine and conquer. We all have something unique, something special about us that we are supposed to maximize and leverage, whether it is being an entrepreneur, whether it's pouring into the life of a small child through a nonprofit, whether it's sitting at a board table, or if you are an executive of a corporation, whatever it is, we are all put here to change the world and to leave a world a better place. So make sure that you shine and conquer by all means necessary. What is a SheEO? All right, so last year during the pandemic, I think that was the most time I've had to sit down and really, really dissect and think about some things. I was able to not only think about some things in regards to self, what are some things that I wanted to do to better myself, but also what are some things and some initiatives that I could start to help better those around me. And SheEO was one of those things. Um, I thought I was in everyday conversations because my professional background is in business development, marketing, public relations, and branding. And of course, we're dealing with the title CEO, CEO, CEO. And play on words, I was like, SheEO, it just sounded fun, it sounded exciting. And especially in the era that we are in right now, we're kind of in this crossroads and in a generation and period of time where those before us were very, very limited as women, right? And then those coming after us are really, really fighting and pressing for equality and equity for women. So we're in this fun place where to be a woman is not as restrictive as it used to be. But what we're doing right now is also setting the foundation for our future generations. So a SheEO is a woman empowered to use her voice to lead those around her to success. And success is one of those things that we are able to define for ourselves, while it has a broad definition, there's a broad explanation of the word that Webster gives us. Success is something that we can define for ourselves, whether that is writing a 10 series book, or if it is completing a 5K, whatever success is for you, that is something that you have to define for yourself so that you are able then to create action steps and plans and efforts and tactics and strategies that can get you to that point as successfully as possible. And a lot of times, our definition of success for ourselves is so overshadowed by our definition and our desire for other people to succeed around us. As women, we are natural nurturers, right? So we really want the people around us to be as okay as they can be. And because of that, we tend to put ourselves last, or we tend not to speak up as confidently or as often as we need to. And those are some of the things that we'll talk about today. But make sure that you define success for yourself so that you can understand what it is that you need to do to get you to that point. Now, since the beginning of time, there have been several different things that you see. And so I'm gonna click through the next 3 slides and then we'll come back to this one. So you have concrete wall, glass ceiling, and a labyrinth. So when you first think about women in leadership in whatever capacity, in whatever role that is, initially there was a concrete wall, right? We were kicked out, we were not allowed in, there was no way to penetrate this wall. It was unbreakable, it was unpenetrable, there was no way that you were going to get to the other side of this wall, because we were not meant to ever be in a role where we could lead men, let alone anyone, right? They didn't want us to lead anyone, but men really wanted us to be in this place where we had no say. And because of that, that's what we say is a concrete wall. So we went from the concrete wall to it then becoming a glass ceiling. And while this is something that we could see the top, it was something that could be, it was breakable. You were able to see the other side. There was some hope that you may possibly get to, or get on the other side of it. There was a sense of a harm that might happen if the glass ceiling was broken. We had, though, progressed to at least being able to see what it was that we could accomplish. And so we went from having this concrete wall that we could not get to having this glass ceiling that we could see through, to having this maze that we could work our way through. And so we're at this point in leadership, especially when it comes to women in leadership and our confidence in being able to speak to leadership. We're now in this place of a labyrinth or a maze where it's not as, we're not blocked out like we were with the concrete wall. It's not that we're not able to see or hear like a glass ceiling, but we still have a lot of work to do, right? So we know that at some point we'll be able to make it to the end of the maze. We'll be able to obtain what it is that we're really looking at, what we're really looking to obtain. We'll be able to achieve whatever goal it is, but it will take a lot of work. There will be walls that we will hit. There will be wrong turns that we will make. Sometimes we may have to just go back to the beginning and start all over, but at least now we're in a place where we are able to at least know that if we just stay on the right path, we'll be able to make it to where we're looking to get to. So the 8 habits of an empowered female leader. They don't downplay their success. They don't let self-doubt stop them from reaching their goals. They don't overthink everything. They don't avoid tough challenges. They don't stay silent. They don't feel bad about reinventing themselves. They don't let others limit their potential. They don't pursue perfection. Okay? They don't downplay their success. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. So when we think about success, um, failure is uncomfortable and failure can create fear. But what a lot of people won't say, and there's a transparent moment that has to happen, is that success can also create that same level of uncomfort as well as fear. A lot of times, what we have is that we internalize our success because we don't want to be perceived as a narcissist. And that's something that women have been taught kind of time and time again, is that if we shine too bright, we are being either we're being either arrogant, we're being prideful, we are talking too much, we're sharing too much, we're bragging. And a lot of times, not only that, so you have this issue where you can be perceived as somebody who is arrogant or as a narcissist, but we also downplay our success because of the imposter syndrome, which is kind of like this buzzword that has really been happening over the last 3 or 4 years. A lot of people have been talking about imposter syndrome because we tend to feel like we don't value ourselves. We don't value our expertise. We don't value our knowledge. We don't value what we're able to give back to the world. And because of that, we typically stand back and let other people have the forefront. When I first got my doctorate, it took me forever to let people call me Dr. Contrecia Tharpe. And not because I hadn't worked for it, not because I didn't earn it, not because I poured sweat, blood, and tears into a dissertation, but just because I did not want people to feel as if I felt I was better than them, even though I didn't feel that way. All right. And even Mindy, Colleen, her book, she has a book called Why Not Me? And in that, she talks about the difficulties of finding confidence in our successes. And she said that you have to own your success, and that owning your success might cause other people to feel uncomfortable, but that's not your problem. If someone else feels uncomfortable about what you have achieved in life, and not in a bragging or arrogant or prideful or boastful way, but just if someone feels uncomfortable about what you have achieved in life, that is something that they have to fix with themselves. Again, as women, we tend to take that on, and because of that, we are more willing to stay in the background, shy away from the light, not tell people what we have accomplished. And then when it's time for us to really recall what are some of the amazing things that you have done, we don't we don't say that. We don't speak up. We don't say anything. So here are some questions, and you all will get these. I'm going to get everyone's email after the after this event, and I'll send you these questions for you to think on some more, because I know that within this hour, we'll be going through the eight steps or the eight habits, but just for you to think a little bit more. So, if these are some thoughts that you may or may not think about, I feel unworthy of my accomplishments. I feel uncomfortable when people compliment me. When I succeed at something, I always credit external factors like good luck or help from someone else. I don't talk about my achievements because I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. I downplay my accomplishments, my intelligence, or my status sometimes because I don't want other people to feel bad. I struggle to recognize my skills, my talents, and my experience. When people say nice things to me or about me, I secretly question their sincerity. I often feel like I'm not as smart, talented, or skilled as other people think I am. I fear people are going to recognize that I'm inadequate and incompetent. I experience a lot of anxiety when I accomplish something great. Okay. I'm going to let me see. I pulled up the chat so that I can see y'all's conversations too. So, out of those that I just read, even if you just have to hit a period in the chat box, how many women in this room have at least thought one of those things? Kyla, me too. Not when I when I was coming up with the list, I was like, that's me all day long. I mean, you don't have to slowly raise your hand. We're in a group. We're here. We're all together. We are all together. We all are experiencing this. But that just goes to show that we really downplay ourselves, not because we're not great, because you are great. If no one tells you, if you never hear it again, I am here telling you that you are great, you are valued, you are seen, you are needed. But because for so long we've been willing to lift everyone else up, we forget to lift our own self up. And then that's the starting process of us losing our confidence. That's the starting point of us losing our voice. And so it's time to take all of that back. So, what are some things that you can do, knowing that, recognizing that those are things that you feel, those are things that you have gone through? What are some things that you can do to start owning your success? And it is something that you have to own. Like I said in the beginning, and I even saw a comment above that said success can create that same level of discomfort as fear. And that is true. Again, Kylie, very, very true. It is something that we don't want to address. Right? I know that's Kylie. Thank you. I saw that you had quoted me and I just see that you agreed. But it is something that we don't really want to address, right? People place and society has taught us that when it's success, it's all happy, it's rainbows, the cloud is shining, or the sun is shining, there's no cloud in the sky is perfectly blue, and everything is going great for you. But for certain people, especially for women who have become disempowered, for women who have lost their confidence and where they currently stand in life, success is just as fearful at times as failure. Because it's like, okay, I've made it, now what? So you really have to own, really, really, really own your success. So you'll get some worksheets from me. And what's helpful, the tips, we'll go through questions in each habit. We'll go through questions so you can identify some of the things that you struggle with, but you'll also get what's helpful. And then what's helpful will have note boxes that you'll be able to fill out so that you can start to create this plan to get you to becoming a SheEO. So you want to recognize when you're downplaying your success, right? So step back and really think about every time, like I said, that somebody that you achieved something, but you credited someone else. Talk about your achievement in a realistic manner. Okay, be as real and as honest with you about what you have achieved. Say thank you when you are given a compliment. A lot of times when someone compliments us, like we said, you start to question their sincerity, but you always, oh, it was nothing, or oh, anybody can do that. No, that's fine if someone else can do it, but in this moment, right now, you did that. List your achievements to remind yourself that you are worthy of success. There was a boot camp that I did last year, and the day one homework was to list 10 quote unquote badass moments in your life. And I started my list with my son because that is one of my top moments in my life, right? The moment I became a mother. And at 35 years old, I struggled to create a list of 10 things. Not because they did not exist, because then I went to my friends and I was like, hey, this is my first night homework. Can you all help me? And they just started giving me things. But a lot of the things that they were giving me that they deemed amazing or that they saw as this outstanding measure and achievement of success were things that I was like, just because I had already downplayed it so much to myself that I had kind of filed it away in its own little file in my mind. And then you also want to start talking to other people and see what is a consensus of success around you. What do other people feel like success is for themselves, and where is your definition of success parallel, and where is it vastly different? And that just goes to show kind of the different measures that you may have on your life and the unrealistic measures that you may have on your measure or your definition of success that can really, really hurt or hinder you. Number two, they don't let self doubt stop them from reaching their goals. Okay. You do not need to pay attention to those voices within you that create pain, make you feel less competent, smart, or able. One of the biggest things, one of my favorite quotes too, is that whether you tell yourself you can or you tell yourself you can't, you're right. We are a very, uh, we are a society that really, really plays on self doubt, meaning that subconsciously and unconsciously, we allow ourselves and our mind to create this barrier that we're not able to cross over. We put up limits and boundaries for ourselves that are so unrealistic and unneeded, all because we are fearful of what might happen if we do step out of that bound. We play it too safe because we know that playing it safe, at least we're safe, right? There's a decreased courage in self doubt, meaning that you aren't willing to take the chance on yourself, on that job, on that business, on that date, if it is in your personal life, all out of fear or what you have told yourself that you could not accomplish. So it's not about just in one fell swoop overcoming self doubt. It is something that takes one bite or one step at a time. I was thinking about how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. It's that same process when overcoming self doubt. Recognizing that you have self doubt and then coming overcoming it is something completely different. There was a study done in a journal called Science, and it was a study for regarding young boys and girls. And what this study found was that a majority of 6-year-olds, as young as the age of 6, most girls associate being brilliant or smart with being male, right? Girls are sugar and spice and everything nice. Boys are hard, they're smart, all of this stuff. And it's things that are perpetuated and taught indirectly through culture. And so they told these two stories about what was a woman who had achieved all of these things and was very, very smart, and what was a man who wasn't horrible, but by measures of this story and for the survey purpose, he was not as brilliant as the female. But at the end, when the children were asked which one was the woman, which one was the man, of course, they said that the man was the one who was most brilliant. And because of this, science says that was, or Science being the journal, that is the reason why young girls are not willing to go into occupations that are considered to be male dominated. Just because there is a level of self doubt that is started at the age of 6. And that is one of the hardest, and preparing for this, that was one of the hardest things to really understand, is that there are young girls out here who could be the next Albert Einstein. But because they have been groomed to think like we were groomed to think that at such a young age, it was girls don't do this, that's for boys, or you run like a girl, um, you play like a girl. It was always a negative connotation with being female that, of course, you don't think that it settles in, because I was a tomboy, tried and true. If you tell me I run like a girl, I'm going to show you how I could run like a boy. But subconsciously, it did set in, and it starts to manifest itself, and it starts to show itself much later on in life. So self doubt becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. Remember that self doubt becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. And Kyla said, do you think culture is starting to shift in that? I know this younger woman is starting to see this differently. I think that we are shifting in that regard. Do I think that we have come as far as we needed to in that regard? No. But I think that there are a lot of conversations that take place now that did not take place when we were children. And because of that, and even now, you can kind of tell by some of the commentary and feedback when older women see a younger female do something, like when they observe them do something, whether it's organizing a march or something. There's a vast majority of women who are extremely supportive and happy to see that a woman took charge. But there's also some women who are very doubtful and skeptical about what it is that they're actually doing. So I think that culture is shifting. Again, that's why I was saying earlier, we're at this point where we're not as suppressed and restricted as those who came before us, but we're still not as free, as equal, and as fair as those who come after us. So, repeatedly telling yourself that you're going to fail is the fastest way to make sure that you don't succeed. And when you believe that you can't do something, there's a good chance that you are right. So, do you struggle with self doubt? I seek other people's advice because I don't trust my own judgment. I have trouble working when someone is watching me because I'm afraid I'm doing something wrong. Before trying something new, I think of all the reasons I'm likely to fail. I often imagine embarrassing myself. I talk myself out of doing things outside of my comfort zone. I need reassurance from other people before I take a risk. I call myself names and put myself down, which I hope that no one does. I feel like other people have more faith in me than I have in myself. I think my lack of confidence is a sign that I shouldn't move forward with something. And I have trouble making decisions because I second guess whether I can succeed. So if that is something that you struggle with, if you struggle with at least one of those, if you could put a period in the chat just to let people know that they are not by themselves. And I'll even put mine in the chat just so that people know they're not by themselves. So what are some things that are helpful in regards to that? Monitoring your emotions, doubting your doubt, which I think is something that we all need to do. Just being able to say, okay, well, doubt, you're not right this time. Doubting your doubt. Examining the evidence behind your self-doubt. Stop considering the worst case scenario. Okay. And I saw someone up here. One of my biggest challenges is self-doubt. And it's something that's natural, right? So all of these habits, of course, it says they don't let self-doubt stop them. We all have self-doubt. We all have something that we are doubtful about, but it's the ability to not let it control how far you go, what you're willing to do, and what you're able to accomplish. Being able to recognize, like you said, it's kind of like AA, honestly. Like the first step is acknowledging that you have self-doubt. We all do, Erica. You're not alone. But it's about not letting it stop you. I actually found starting this entrepreneurial journey has heightened the sense of doubt, question, confidence, questioning yourself. There, definitely, you are more alert to, because there's a lack of comfort in being an entrepreneur, because you are responsible for everything that happens. And so it is you do find that you're doubting yourself more because you question, are you able to make it? Is this going to work? Should I really do this? Am I the person qualified for that? So there's just a level of comfort there that's missing, that can be very, very scary. And it is one of those things when it comes to entrepreneurship, a lot of the people who don't make it, like once you take away the revenue aspect of it, a lot of the people who don't make it are the people who were just scared to start anyways, because they automatically assumed as soon as they got in that they didn't have the tools necessary to be successful. Okay. The next one, they don't overthink everything. Thinking has many a time made me sad. I'm sorry, I don't know why I added so many E's. Made me sad, darling. But doing nothing did in all my life. So basically what she's saying is that thinking makes me sad. But when I actually did, when I put action to word, I was never sad in my life. So I have this thing that it's called dreams to plans, plans to actions, right? And it's Leveraged, which is the book that I'm releasing this spring, is actually about being or overcoming being an overthinker and becoming a doer. And that was something that I definitely struggled with myself. I have laid out plans to help people get $1 million in their business. I have taken brands from being state brands to being global brands. But when it came time to press play on my goals, my initiatives, my dreams, I always paused because I always overthought. And the thing though is that I associated overthinking with problem solving, right? It wasn't that it wasn't a good idea. It wasn't that I couldn't make it happen. It was that I assumed every worst case scenario possible. And for every worst case scenario possible, I overthought every solution I could come up with. So because of that, I was stagnant, because overthinking creates stagnation, because you're constantly spinning your wheels, you're constantly stuck in this place, and you're constantly talking yourself out of becoming everything that you knew that you could. So I was sitting there, and that's what I realized. I said, Teresa, you're an overthinker. I had plenty of notebooks. So you see me keep looking down is because I have a notebook here with notes, but I have several, I'm telling you, like I'm reaching into my workbook. Here's another notebook. I am an overthinker, overplanner, overdoer, right? And so because of that, I would have these notebooks filled to the brim with ideas, but I would overthink and self-doubt myself out of everything. So are you an overthinker? Self-reflection is healthy, but overanalyzing and dwelling and worrying steals your joy and makes it more difficult to function. So, do these sound familiar? I often rehash conversations I had with people in my mind and think about everything I wish I said. I relive embarrassing moments in my head repeatedly. I worry about things that probably won't ever happen. I ask myself a lot of what if questions. When someone says something I don't like, I replay it in my mind repeatedly. I spend a lot of time thinking about the hidden meanings of things that people say or events that happen. I have trouble sleeping because there's so much stuff running through my brain. Sometimes I'm not aware of what's going on around me because I'm dwelling on something else. I find it hard to think about anything else once I start thinking about my failures. I relive my mistakes in my mind often. Again, period. In the comments, if that's something you can relate to. And you'll see, I think that a lot of times too, with what we're discussing now, we often feel as if we are by ourselves. Um, we feel that we're the only one going through this. No one else will understand. But you see, there are a lot of people who have those same feelings, who have those same experiences. You're not by yourself. So, studies show, of course, that women worry most than men. Women overthink most than women think men do. And that's not always a good thing. It's, there are definitely some points where you want to um, pause and think before doing. But it's about recognizing what are the things that you really need to think about, worry about, and then how are you hindering or limiting yourself in overthinking. So, what's helpful? Schedule time to worry. What I have done is I've started implementing. I take a shower at night, um, or every night, to decompress and to erase the day. It's my way of symbolically anything negative that happened, anything that I couldn't control that happened, anything that drained me during the day, I wash it down the drain at night. Um, it's gone. It has to be gone. So that is my time that I worry. That is my time that I overthink. That is my time that I try to process whatever has happened throughout the day. And then I release it down the drain with everything else that stopped me, that limited me, that hindered me, that slowed my progress throughout that day. Change the channel in your brain, setting up habits and things like that can stop you from overthinking. If it is, once you start a project, to outline. It was what helped me is that I started doing 10-minute projects so that I didn't have time to think really about, okay, well, what happens when I get to the end? When I started a 10-minute projects, and by that I mean if it's writing a press release, then I have 10 minutes, I set up 10-minute blocks that can help me complete the overall project. So I started doing the 10-minute projects, and that really allows me to change the channel in my brain. Practice mindfulness and take a break from thinking about something to give your brain a chance to work on the problem in the background. Subconsciously and indirectly, our mind is constantly going, constantly working, constantly thinking. And so we don't have to give so much power to what we're overthinking about. But because we overthink, we tend to miss opportunities. We tend to limit ourselves a lot. And so if we can just get past the point of, and it's something that you have to work through, but get past the point of overthinking and get to the point of actually doing, then you'll be able to see a lot of results. They don't avoid tough challenges. So a strong woman looks a challenge dead in the eye and gives it a wink. Tough challenges can definitely teach you a lot about life. We tend to want to get past the tough challenges, but the tough challenges can show you that you're stronger than you think. Do these sound familiar? I have trouble recalling the last time I did something really hard. I turn down invitations to do things that would cause me to feel anxious. I avoid new opportunities if I fear I'm going to fail. Other people encourage me to do things, but I rarely give it a try. I want to stay inside my comfort zone rather than test my limits. I go to great lengths to avoid feeling uncomfortable. I can't handle much stress. I often decline opportunities because I fear the stress would be too tough for me to handle. I prefer to play things safe rather than take a risk. I want to tackle tough challenges, but I struggle to make myself take action. Tough challenges, tough circumstances often lead us to a place where we associate tough and failure. A lot of the times we think that those two words are synonymous, right? If it's tough, that means it's going to be harder to overcome. And if it's harder to overcome, then am I really equipped to handle it? And if I'm not really equipped to handle it, then I'm going to fail. And then if I fail, this was all for nothing, so I might as well not try. And because of that, we create this thought process in ourselves that allows us to be stopped before even starting, primarily because through process of elimination and some warped flowchart in our brain that we think hard and failure are synonymous, right? And they're not. So what's helpful? Proactively boosting your mood so that you'll look at the positive aspects of a challenge, acting as if you feel brave, surrounding yourself with people who choose to challenge themselves, knowing your values and your purpose, and thinking about challenges as opportunities and not obstacles. These are, we're going to start going through because I have about 17 more minutes to get through the rest of them. But what's helpful in that what's helpful portion of the worksheet are things to get you to recognize when you're overthinking, when you're avoiding tough challenges, what behaviors can you associate with them? And so that way you can start to overcome them. Like I said, this is not something that you come to SheEO today, we talk about it, we reveal that we're all dealing with the same things, and then tomorrow we wake up and we are new people. This is something that has, because these are behaviors that we've had for so long. So these are behaviors that we have to work ourselves out of. But recognizing that we have the behavior, recognizing why we have a disempowered voice, recognizing why we have lost confidence in ourselves as a leader, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, now we're able to really, really take action and be more meaningful and intentional with our efforts, with our work, and with the process. Okay. They don't stay silent. So a lot of times the quote, we realize the importance of our voice when we are silenced. A lot of times we get this, we're told to pipe down and be quiet. We oftentimes see things that we don't speak out about. We oftentimes will sit at board tables and meetings, at brainstorming sessions, and have a brilliant idea. But because we've been told to be quiet for so long, or because we self-doubt ourselves, or because we're overthinking what our idea is, we rarely speak up. So it's so many things that you can stay silent about. There's so many things that in staying silenced, you then start to feel suffocated by what you're carrying. It's one of those things like in an argument. If the person constantly, if y'all are having a debate and the person is constantly shutting you down, and then they abruptly end the conversation and walk away, you feel almost suffocated by what is left for you to say, and you have no one to say it to. So in staying silent, so that we lose a lot of the power that we have, right? We are creators, we are makers, we are doers, we are dreamers, we are achievers, we are hustlers, we are entrepreneurs, we are all of these things. And we often, in staying silenced and in not voicing our opinion or in not choosing to speak up, we lose our power. So I avoid sharing my ideas because I think other people won't value my opinion. In group settings, I let other people take the lead in the conversation. I don't speak up because I don't want to create conflict. I am ashamed to tell anyone when I am victimized. I want to speak up for other people whose rights are violated, but I often don't say or do anything. When I feel uncomfortable about the comments someone makes, I stay silent. I am too afraid of what people will say or think about me to speak up. I worry about speaking up about things that cause me discomfort and will cause others to think I'm too sensitive. Period. If any of those are true for you. So then, what are some things that you can do? Um, Talk about your experiences and your ideas to someone. Um, Invite others to share their experiences with you. Establish clear guidelines about communication in regards to you. Do your part to ensure that your voice is heard. But you don't want to stay passive, right? By staying passive, we become a silent bystander in our own life where we have all of these ideas, all of these dreams, all of these things that we want to help get to the end, but none of them make it because we did not speak up when we were given the chance. They don't feel bad about reinventing themselves. If you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another. It's supposed to say if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another. When we think about reinventing ourselves, we typically think that we are trying to become a brand new person. And it's not so much that we're trying to become a brand new person as much as we are trying to make changes so that we can obtain what it is that we want to obtain and become who we feel that we are destined to be. Reinventing yourself every now and then is just a great way to make sure that you're learning, growing, and adapting to the changes of life because the only thing constant is change. Robert Frost said that. We view change, and by we, I'm just meaning society as a whole. Change is one of the things that we know is inevitable because it's one of those processes that um, has taken from time, has started or from the beginning of time. Um, it's one of those things where um, evolution just occurs. And in order to survive it, you have to be willing to change. You have to be adaptable. You have to be flexible. You have to roll with the tide. And so, a lot of times, when you think about reinventing yourself or about changing what it is that you want out of life or changing something about yourself, we can tend to feel um, insecure or uncomfortable with those type of things. Changing something about yourself can be scary, but you have to remember that a lot of the times that you're changing for the better. So, do any of these speak to you? I get so caught up in day to day life that I don't take a look at the bigger picture to see if the life I'm living is the life I want to create. I fear what other people would think if I made any major changes in my life. I figure if I haven't become the person I want to be yet, there's no hope that it will ever happen. I don't have the energy or motivation to create positive change in my life. If I made changes in my personal or professional life, I'm afraid I'd make things worse. I think it'd be a bad thing if someone said to me, "You've changed." I fear outgrowing the people around me. I live inside my comfort zone. I rarely explore new interests, think about new career ideas, or try new things. I have other things I'd like to do in life, but I always talk myself out of trying. All right. Period in the comment if you have had any of those feelings. And what are some things that are helpful? taking a step back to examine whether you're living according to your values, identifying changes you want to make to be more like the person you want to become, acknowledging what gets in the way of reinventing yourself, thinking about ways you could use your current skill set to do something different. And recognizing how your personality may have changed over time. Definitely, Vicky, recognizing that lost time cannot be retrieved. I definitely agree. And when you think about it's something as subtle as a career change, might be reinventing yourself, but you can't be afraid of change. Change is going to happen regardless, right? So don't be afraid to unbecome who you are or to make changes in your life to get you to the point that you want to be. You have to do that in order to get the success that you're hoping to obtain. So keep that in mind. They don't let others limit their potential. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So, a lot of times we allow other people to really um, speak negative and speak words into our life. And we'll give them control through what they say to us, um, so that they are giving us these doubts and reasons to second guess ourselves. So a lot of times, and I'm going to go ahead because I think we have like 7 more minutes, and I wanted to hear some things that you all had to say. But um, in dealing with this, and if you experience this, is where you allow people to the idea of rejection from people, the idea of criticism from people, and especially the people that are around you and closest to you, as well as constituents and associates that are beyond that. You allow them to speak negatively into your life, and it limits your potential, because then it creates this foggy barrier where you're not able to see beyond that, and see what it is that you're able to accomplish. So you want to make sure that you create self-limiting beliefs, or examine the self-limiting beliefs that you have accepted. Recognize the errors of your thinking in regards to the negativity that somebody else is speaking towards you. Work hard towards your goals despite what other people say and their doubts. You want to establish clear boundaries. Put up boundaries for yourself so that you're able to then just focus on it, what you need to focus on. And you want to seek helpful feedback. And the last one is they don't pursue perfection. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Perfection is one of those things. The pursuit of perfection um, is something that a lot of people are on. We're all on the pursuit of perfection. And just like overthinking, um, perfection creates stagnation, because there's no such thing as perfect. And because there's no such thing as perfect, and we're constantly pursuing that, we get on this journey and in this place where we are not able to see beyond, it's just this tunnel vision. And we want to get to this place where the grass is green, the sky is blue, the sun is shining. And it's not that you can't achieve progression, or you can't achieve growth, but perfection definitely creates this stagnation. So when you look in the mirror, do you notice all the things you like to change about yourself? When you work on a goal, do you focus on the result more than the journey to success? If you try something and you're not good, do you give up? When you get criticism, does it feel like a personal attack? When you finish with a project, do you notice the small imperfections more than the things that that you like about it? Do you procrastinate because you fear that your work won't be perfect? Do you struggle to call a project complete because you think that you could always improve it somehow? And do you not like people to see your house, your car, your office when things are out of place? Do you spend a lot of time thinking about how to improve on a lot of things in your life? Do you feel anxious when you feel like you're not in control? The biggest thing in mentoring and even in business development and talking to other business owners, the biggest thing that I tell them is that you can't, if you wait for it to be perfect, if you wait for it to be perfect, then you will you'll be stuck in this process every time. You won't release anything. You won't press play. You'll be stuck where you currently are because you're constantly waiting on perfect. And if definitely perfection is the enemy of done, because if you're looking for perfect, you will never be done, ever, because you're constantly going to find something that could be better. I feel a lot of people, when you release something, when you do something, is not to say that you can't come back and make changes, you can't make corrections, but at least it's done. At least you have trusted yourself, trusted your talents enough to put it out there. So that is it for today. So 1:58, we got 2 minutes. This is my website, contreciatanya.com. My phone number, this is my business cell, my email, and all of my social media handles. I'm always by my phones, with my phones. And even next week, we're doing another one of these. It's not a SheEO, but we will be talking about brand storytelling. So if you are a business owner or you're looking for some marketing advice, marketing tips and tricks, we'll be walking through. That's an interactive discussion, and we will be walking through how to craft your brand story. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and really, really thank everyone for being a part of this. It was amazing. I hope that you all feel like you learned something. There was something that you took away from this. You have my email. Um, Definitely reach out and get in touch with me. I'd love to hear from y'all, and I definitely look forward to um, what you all have to say or continue the conversation.
Yeah, so many awesome comments in the chat.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. I know you had an appointment, but if you wanted to take a few more questions, we
Yeah,
always
we can
could
take some
too.
questions. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, would anyone want to unmute themselves and have anything to say, question to ask? Feel free. I think we're in good company here, but it's fine if you're shy too.
Hey, this is Catherine Andrews. I just wanted to say thank you so much. You did a great job.
Thank you, Catherine. I really, really appreciate that. And
You're
thank you so
really,
much
you're
for joining
really
us.
good.
I appreciate it. We'll be doing some more things with the SheEO. We're looking to do a lot more of the connecting. So, connecting female leaders in all capacities with each other across the world.
Excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
All right, going once, going twice. Yeah, I can follow up and send everyone the slides.
Yes.
Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us, and I'll send a follow up email.
No
Thank you.
problem.
Have a
Thank
great
y'all. Have
day.
a good day.
Bye.
Bye.